the Jags win last week at Tennessee. I don't know what the significance is in your mind. They needed to win a game. It was interesting. Once they started throwing the ball to Brian Thomas Jr., things got a lot better. He's got a chance to be a real star in the league, Pete. He really does.
I love him. Look, I even said it on your show early in the season. I said it on Monday night the whole time. I said, coming out, I thought he was going to be a big-time player. He just needed to adjust his routes and learn the route running stuff. But he's a star. I mean, that is going to be a number one, just like the elite guys in this league. He's one of those guys. And so they have that guy. Now they just have to supplement the people around them. But it's a mystery why they don't get him the ball more. You come out at halftime and you say, well, we got to get him the ball more. Well, why wouldn't you get him the ball in the first place? It made no sense to me.
On the other side, in terms of that matchup, Tennessee, I know you've been real, supportive and thought Will Levis would certainly become
bad last week.
A great player. Yeah, is that just one game in your opinion, or because he had played pretty well before, or are there things that you're starting to see that are a concern long term?
No, I mean it's hard to evaluate him because I'll give you an example. There was a play where they had two men in the route and they max protected, and there were three guys covering Ridley down the field, and he didn't have the check down guy because he was covered by two guys, and then he got hit. I think the design of the offense isn't great. Ridley is okay. He's not great. And then the offensive line is awful. And so it's hard to, then I go back and I watch the tape, and the touchdown, Westbrook Akini should have caught the ball for a touchdown. Ridley should have got a first down on that ball he threw to him instead of going out of bounds. And then he missed wide open the tight end. He threw to the back, and that guy shouldn't even been part of the read progression. So inconsistency, young quarterback, bad line, not a great group of wide receivers, and not great play calling either. So he's part of the problem, but I don't know if you can really evaluate him yet.
I will tell you this. Of the young guys we've seen in my 11 years of doing the games, and we've been all over, but you see something different when you're at the game, obviously. I do think he's more raw than I thought, Pete. I do. I think he's I will say this. Stroud is going to be good, even though he's having a bad year this year, not as good a year. He will be a very good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, I have no doubt, will be a very good quarterback. The other two guys, Anthony Richardson and Levis, look more raw to me than I would have expected. I know it's only their second year. I get it. But you know what I mean? They feel more raw to me than I would have expected.
Well, and they were both raw coming in.
Yeah.
That's part of the whole thing. And again, it's such a hard evaluation, and it really is. You look at some of the throws he makes, and you go, okay. And then you watch him on tape, and you go, what did he do? Why did he do that? But, and here's the thing. A lot of these guys get sped up because of the bad offensive lines, and I think that's the problem with Stroud now with the Texans. He's so sped up, he doesn't look like the same guy. We watched the game last night. Both those quarterbacks looked middling for, 2.5 quarters of that game. The weather had something to do with it, but these guys, I think you got to protect and you got to be good on the offensive line. That's why the good teams are the ones with the good offensive line.
Yeah, how do you see Sunday's game going when the Jets come here?
I saw some good things from the Jets offense last week, and that's a tough matchup. Those receivers can still play. Rodgers, for the first time threw the ball to him and hit him and looked like, Rodgers. Maybe he's healthier now because he hasn't been healthy all year. And I think that's a real tough matchup. And now you lose Ingram. Aside from Thomas, where are you going? Where do you go with the football? I think, they should use the second-year tight end should be used more than he's been used. And they haven't used that. That's one of the perplexing things to me is how he can make a catch in the middle of the field, and then you come back and you go, well, where is he the rest of the game? And there were games where they didn't use him. I don't understand that because he has flashed at times.
Pete, what went wrong with the Jets? Now, and maybe you hit on it, Aaron Rodgers played hurt, but that was a team that was pretty good. Some people liked him in the Super Bowl. Most thought they were going to the playoffs. The next thing you know, they're playing badly. Salah's fired. Hackett's fired. They're 3-10. What went wrong with that franchise?
Well, Frank, part of it was you mentioned him. I don't think he ever truly recovered from that Achilles last year. And remember, they talked about him coming back last year. He just didn't look like the same guy.
Right.
Their offensive line had problems and injuries. They signed 2 veterans. Tyron Smith hasn't been the same player. He's now out. They put the rookie in. He's been pretty good, and they're better up front. Then they go make the deal for Adams, and everybody thought he'd fix it, but it didn't because it took him a little while to get acclimated. And then you go to the defense. It was supposed to be a dominant. It's the one thing you could count on. You knew Saleh was there. You know, when he was there, they could count on the defense. And then when they fired him and made the defensive coordinator the head coach, the defense became bad, and guys didn't tackle. Guys haven't played well. You know, Sauce Gardner hasn't played well. Quincy Williams hasn't been as good. You know, they've had injuries on that side of the ball. It's just, and they don't tackle. And that's one thing. It bothers me when I see a team. There were a couple games this year where you looked at them and you go, they quit. They quit. And I think Arizona was one of those games. They just looked like they quit. So I think add it all up, and that's why they've had all kinds of problems.
Tough test, no question about it. Jets and Jags, who wins, Pete?
I think the Jets beat them. I just think this team's too undermanned. Look, they're not a good team, and now they're undermanned even more by losing your tight end. You playing with the backup quarterback, that's always a problem. So I think the Jets beat them.
We'll have to wind up and see. Pete Prisco.
I think it could do so this week. No Belichick in the mix.
That's good news. Belichick is definitely out of the mix. You're exactly right. Pete Prisco checking in from CBSSports.com. Thank you, Pete.
All right, guys. Take care.